Hi, it's Bowman here. Welcome to my video lesson for Pleasin by Cory Wong. I've had a few requests for this one. It's a great track off his debut album with Antoine Stanley on the vocals. Lots of great guitar playing and a really cool solo from Cory in the middle of it. I'm going to try and keep this lesson quick. There's quite a few live versions out there, and I will be concentrating on the original studio version of the track. I'll also try and show you how the song has been constructed so you can start going away and learning some of the licks that he plays on the live albums. Okay, if you do enjoy the video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. As always, below there are links to my Facebook and Instagram pages. It'd be great to have you following me on there. There's also a link to the PDF transcription, get yourself a copy of that, and a link to a donation button. Okay, we'll start by having a look at the intro, which on the original track is played on bass, but it's fairly straightforward. I've put the tablature there for guitar so you can play along with it. We are in the key of G major, and the bass line goes like this. Or depending on how you want to play it. So it's fairly straightforward, all down here around about the 3rd fret using a G major scale. Okay, and then we go into the main riff. I think Cory actually starts it, he does one of his kind of things, which is like a little double stop up at the 22nd fret, and then slide down on the bottom E string. And then we go into the main riff, which is also repeated during the chorus. So we start by looking at the chords. G major, A minor, G over B, which is just your G major, the B in the bass, to a C, back to the G over B, to the A minor, and then there's this rundown, which is basically running down from G, G flat, F, E, E flat, down to D. So in terms of theory, we've got the 1 chord, the minor 2nd, back to the 1 chord, over the B, to the 4 chord, the C, back to the G, 1 chord, to the minor 2nd, and then we're going all the way down from the root to the 5 chord. Okay, in terms of what Cory's playing, he's playing pretty much triads. So he's playing a G up here, top of that C-shaped G, or that D-shaped G, and then he's going to an A minor here, which again is your D minor shape, moved up to the G up here, 10th fret, to the C up here, back to the G, to the A minor, and then. So that's essentially what he's doing. So to start off with, we're sliding in the A minor, slide in again on the G, and we're putting in this 15th fret up here, which is the top of the G up here, to the C, slide back in, so that's G and B strings, 12 all the way down to 7. You can play the full chord. It's hard to hear exactly what he's playing, probably playing bits and pieces, but you can play the full chord. So your A to your B strings. Like that. Just a quick word on the tempo. I've put this at 179 beats per minute. I personally wouldn't have said that. I would have said it was probably half that speed, and I would have put them as 16th notes rather than 8th notes. But if you look at the original chord sheet that Cory produced and is available on his website, he's actually got it at 179, but it's got a very fast feel to it. So if we play it slowly, a couple of scratches. Like that. So yeah, put a couple of scratches in between some of the chords, it sounds pretty cool. This bit down here, all kind of upstrokes, all offbeat. And that's the main riff. Another great example, it's a very simple chord progression, but Cory's really funking it up and using those triads and the inversions of the triads in a cool way. Gives it a really unique sound. One other thing to say is when you go up to that 15th fret, if you can slide into it, kind of what Cory's doing. Just gives it a bit of extra oomph. Same with the, put a slide in first. Sounds pretty good. There's a few good videos of him playing this live on YouTube, so check those out and see what he's doing. Okay, onto the verse. So the first half of the verse, pretty straightforward in terms of the chords. It's just G to D, so the 1 to the 5. Or G7 to D7. But obviously Cory is funking it up a bit and playing a lot of single note stuff. I've only done the first verse. I haven't done the second verse, but we'll talk about it and see how you can maybe come up with some ideas. But what he's doing here, he's pretty much sticking with either the arpeggio for each chord, and maybe throwing in a few major pentatonics. So if you know the arpeggios, which are pretty much just the notes of the chord that you're playing, and a few of the major pentatonic shapes, you can come up with your own little ideas here. So as always, Cory's hand's always going, so there's a lot of scratching in here. So pretty much just based around that chord shape. He's doing the minor, the old bluesy minor, to major third. And then we got the D. You know your D major. Throwing in as kind of his trademark. Then it goes back to the G, very similar to the first two bars. And then on the D chord, he's doing the minor third to the major third again. So again, this is all just based around D major arpeggio, but he's throwing in the minor thirds. And then to the next G, we're going up and just picking out the notes of the G chord up here. And then on the D, thinking of the D major up here, minor third to the major third again. So getting into the double stop territory here, so just thinking of the D major chord, double stops on your D and G strings, down a half fret, back up, and then the same on your G and B. So that's a very useful thing to do as you're jamming on this. Just picking out those double stops. Come up with your own little lines. So just on those two chords, very handy on the double stops. Technique, just go down half step and back up, and it sounds good. So that's kind of the verse. That's the first half of the verse. I'm not going through it in too much detail. You can have a look at the tablature. He never seems to play it the same way twice. But get some of those ideas on the chords, get used to playing the arpeggios and the chord shapes, and just picking out those notes, throwing in a couple of those minor major thirds and a couple of those semitone drops on the double stops, and come up with your own. They sound really cool. We then go into the pre-chorus part. Chords for that: C, B7, E7, A minor 7, that G over B, C, C sharp diminished, D, C over an E, D diminished over an F, and then a D over an F sharp. So a lot of chords in there, but it's basically the bass line's kind of walking up and we've got the chords moving around. What Cory's doing is playing triads up on the top 3 strings. It starts in bar 40. We're on the D chord. And we're just going to walk down. Top 3 strings, your D chord. Down to the C. And then slide up into the B. Triad. 10th fret to the 8th fret. And then we're going to slide in to the E7. So I'm not going through in the detail of the rhythm there, but it's kind of that kind of thing. We're then going to walk up A minor. Get the feeling Cory's doing what he often does. He's got the bass note with his thumb, A minor 7, to this G. Looking at the videos, I think he often plays it like this. So this is G chord, but with the B in the bass, to a a C. All of these are kind of like the rhythm is like that. And then from the C to a C sharp diminished. If you know this chord, it's a good way from getting from a C to a D. So if you think of a C7 chord, your middle 4 strings again, but put your 4th fret on your A string. So diminished chord, diminished scale made up of minor thirds stacked on top of each other. And then we're going to the D chord. Then to a C chord, but with an E in the bass. And then we go to this D diminished over an F. Just how I'm voicing it. To a D chord over an F sharp. So basically the bass line's going A, B, C, C sharp, D, E, F, F sharp. Leading us up to that 5 chord, which takes us back to into the chorus on the G. Okay, and then we go back into the chorus, verse, etc, etc. So I'm going to have a quick look at the guitar solo. It's a very typical Cory double stop driven, arpeggio driven solo. It sounds really cool. Play it slowly, it's not too difficult. To play it up to speed, it is very hard indeed. So build up your speed, but there's some cool licks in here that you can reapply. Pretty much the same chords we're playing over as the verse, and then the pre-chorus part, that rising chord progression that we just looked at. And again, these double stops are very much based around the chords, around the G7 and the D7 that are being played by the band. So, starting off up here at the 12th fret, if you know your E minor pentatonic, you also know your G major pentatonic. First 2 bars, all these double stops are pretty much part of that. So it goes slowly. Almost has that kind of oriental feel about it. So, muted, palm muted, very clipped. Downstrokes, I would use downstrokes for all this. If you see, Cory's done a few exercise videos of this on Instagram. Does that kind of thing a lot, even at speed. All based around double stops in there. Then we'll go into this D major chord, and then up to the D major up here. And again, it's all double stops. Like that. So, just picking out the chords, picking out notes from the chord. Up to this top chord here, D. And back to there. D, and then moving back to the G. Again, using all that pentatonic. Very hard to hear exactly on the track what's happening there. I think he is doing that at the end of that phrase, and then back to the D. So that's the D major, down to the C major. Double stops. So that whole double stop section, before we go into the single note part. Like that. Okay, and then we go into some arpeggios, single note arpeggios. You can slide all the way up here at the 22nd fret. I think that's how he's fingering it. Often when you see the solos, he's kind of playing it kind of typical G minor, G major arpeggio. But he's putting the 4th in as well, the 4th note of the chord. And then we're going to this D major. So we're starting on the 3rd. G major again. If you think of a G major chord here, all the way up here, that is what's being spelt out. Up to the major third there, bend it up and back down again, half a tone. And then this D major, arpeggio, bend it up from the 17th fret. Okay, so they're relatively straightforward licks using the arpeggios and a few extra notes thrown in there. Again, the rhythm's cool, it's giving that funky sound, but take it slowly. When you play at the speed of the record, that is pretty fast. It's not easy to do. Okay, and then the solo kind of plays on over the pre-chorus part, so the chords we were playing before. So it goes to a C major, and we've got so all based around that C major. And then we're going down to a B7, slide down here. Basically walking up the B7 arpeggio to the E. A few scratches thrown in, so that E to the major third of the E. Double stop up there, slide down, and then we're going to the A minor. And what he's doing here is basically walking up those chords as we did before, but he's playing either double stops or triads on the top 2 or 3 strings. I can't exactly make out on the record. So the numbers I've put in brackets on the G string, you can play them or you can leave them out. Definitely the top 2 notes are there. Add the third in, it fills it out a little bit. So it's basically the triads, A minor, up to the G over B, the C, to C sharp diminished, so you just change it to the 14th fret, to the D, to the C over an E, to that D diminished over F, we're just moving it up a fret, and then up to the D. So he's playing pretty much what we played before, he's just spelling it out in triads on the top 2 strings. Okay, and that's the solo. Really cool, some good ideas you can take from there. There is then this little bridge part that he doesn't seem to do on the live versions I've seen, but I actually think it's quite cool. So chords wise, we're doing G to a C, up to an F, to a B flat, second time round B flat to the A. There's 2 guitar parts here. First one's going there's a second guitar part which is actually playing the 9th chords of these. So if you know your 9th chord position on the middle strings, starting off from the G9 up to the C9, a few scratches and put the slides in as well, down to the F, 9 up to the B flat 9, so G up to C, F up to the B flat. That goes around a few times and then we go back into the bass riff and the chorus. So that's pretty much all the parts of the song, and hopefully gives you some ideas of how to put your own little licks and riffs into it as well. Very trademark Cory style riffs and licks in there, so some really good stuff to learn. So I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Make sure you get your copy of the PDF. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon with another video. Thank you.